You want to make sure you're split, and especially 7-game series, 5-game series. It's all important to win on the road. And the one thing is, to win a series, you have to win on the road. So for us going up there, I like the way we played in Game 1. Obviously, I think we had a little bit of a rough third period in terms of a couple shifts costing us with a couple goals, but to rebound and play as well. It's harder to win the second game when you lose the first one, that's for sure. And the fact that we did that, I think, just shows that the guys are playing real well right now, and it gives us a shot. But it doesn't mean it's going to be any easier than it was hard for a lot. They're gonna bring it the same way we brought it up there.
How confident are you in your offense right now, other than 1 or 2 games, including one where you purposely sat most of your goal scorers to give them a rest? You're averaging over 4 goals a season, say a game in the last 10 games or something like that. You've hit 5, 6 a couple of times. Obviously Game 1 was tight, but still you got 3, and then in Game 2, the empty netter, but another strong offensive performance. Yeah,
I like our offense. I think it's important to have 3 lines that can score. I think it's important to have the power play that can score, and I think it's important to have the guys on the blue line that can generate offense from the blue line. So I think we've got a good mix where we can get goals. Obviously you look at guys like Robinson, Delvise, Bates have been our go-to guys offensively in terms of points, our top 3. And then you got guys, Eisman, Kelly Chu's playoff scoring success is well documented. JF's is 2. Those 2 are the highest 2 on our team in terms of playoff points. And then and then our power play has been good all year. Struggled a little bit down the stretch, but I think we had a lot of new faces into it, and a lot of different combinations, and a lot of games and a lot of nights. So I think the freshness of the playoffs has kind of renewed it a little bit, and I like the way we've moved the puck around in both games. So we've got elements that can score from every avenue, and I think you need that. You need that to win in the playoffs. I think Jeannie even joked about going for the empty net himself in the third, but I definitely don't need him scoring. I just want him scoring.
It's obvious that you've been playing Alaska for quite a few games in a row now, and there's been some little aggression that's kind of can be seen. How are you controlling that, and are you even worried about it?
Well, I think emotion's a huge thing about the playoffs. So sometimes emotion turns to aggression and turns to I think frustration. It can turn into anything that you want an emotion to be. And I think sometimes the aggression is a natural thing, obviously in a contact sport. And 2 teams, you're right. We're not playing. We're basically going to end up playing a 7-game series because of the 2 games previous, as much as the last 2 games of the regular season. We're a little bit of resting for teams. There's a little bit of pushing for obviously some playoff positioning, but. I think it's something that obviously needs to be controlled. Discipline's a huge factor in the playoffs. I think the refs are going to allow teams to play as much as they can, but they're still going to call a similar standard to the regular season. But I think you're going to see a lot of that incidental contact and a lot of kind of what we like to call borderline penalties not called. And I think for that, it's going to make it harder on the players, and they're going to have to fight through a lot more. And then that discipline, because of that, is going to really be required.
So are you doing anything at all reminding them of some of these silly penalties that they're getting called on? And
it's always mentioned. I think you always have to mention that discipline is going to be a key to a game, and I'm confident that we've got a good handle on that already. I don't know how much it needs to be addressed. Obviously, I think tomorrow I'll definitely say something about it, but I don't think it needs to be a major point. I think the major points are what we need to do on the ice in terms of execution, and if we can harp on those things, I think that gives us the better angle to win a game instead of truly worrying about just not taking penalties. Penalties are part of the game, and you got to make sure your penalty kill is ready to go, and our penalty kill has been good both games.
Can you comment on the officials that you're expecting for the series? Are they the same officials that we've seen recently that have caused some questionable?
I don't know what the official, who the officials are. We had Gino Binda, who's one of the top referees in the ECHL for games 1 and 2, and I think there's a lot of emotion for every little play, and I had a heated exchange with him about a play. And I'm sure, and Brent Thompson, I'm sure, had some heated exchanges with the officials, and that's part of the playoffs. We're living and dying by every call, non-call, and at the end of the day, the officials that are working the playoffs are the guys that have had good regular seasons, just like the teams that are playing in the playoffs. They've done enough to deserve to be in the postseason from the league's eye, and really what it comes down to, and I think you'll see it more in the playoffs, the officials really have very little to do with the outcome of the game, and they should have very little to do. If you're taking penalties, your penalty kill better be ready to go. And if it's not, you can't blame the official, because most of them, they're not making them too many up this time of year. That's for sure.
Could you talk about your goaltending situation? Do you know what's going on there yet?
No. Perugini's our guy.
Okay.
And that's he's the guy right now. Brian Pitten's up in the American Hockey League still. Obviously, they finished this weekend, so I anticipate him being back after that. If anything else changes, we could get him back sooner. But right now, it's kind of status quo that he'll be back after the American Hockey League.
But
season.
you're going to have to do something for at least an emergency goalie, right?
I've got Bryce Christensen here that joined us up in.
Oh, he did. He came with.
Yeah, he came with us. So he's a good goalie. He's a young talent, and
Okay.
he's a guy that is hungry to be a pro. And I think he gives us a good second option.
Okay. Go ahead. I was going to ask about it, not just the offense, but also about, because obviously, you know, he made the All-Star game. He's had a great year, just named Rookie of the Month. And, you know, his creativity, I mean, everybody, you got a lot of scorers, but if one thing makes him stand out a little bit is that he can get pretty creative around the net.
Yeah, I think that and his speed. I think, you know, he can create things going through neutral ice that makes it tough to defend. I think the defense always has to be worried about him up there, but he's someone that I think needs to shoot a little bit more. He's putting himself into some good situations, and in the games 1 and 2, and he just hasn't been able to pull the trigger a ton. So, but with that, when you're getting your chances, that's all you're worried about. When you're not getting opportunities, then you can worry about it. But he's been good. He's been good from the beginning of the year. He's had a very good with the team December, January, February, and March, and obviously culminating in Rookie of the Month. And I'm sure he's equally deserving to be in all ECHL rookie selection, but unfortunately there's only 3 spots for forwards up there, and the 3 guys that got voted in were the guys that were just ahead of him in points. So but I think you can take nothing away from what type of season he's had as a first-year guy.
How is Perugini doing? He's been playing a lot in the net lately. How's he feeling? Can you?
I think when you're tired this time of year, adrenaline kind of makes you feel like physically you're tired. The key is to mentally not drain yourself, and it's important to get away from the rink. It's important to kind of shut the brain off a little bit after, and then allow yourself to be that much more focused in the moment instead of worrying about, I didn't make that save last night, I didn't make that play, or I should have done this the night before. And if you keep that baggage going with you, I think it's more mental. These guys are all well conditioned. They can play and play and play and play. And you saw it. We played 7 games in 9 nights, and that ended up being 11, or what was it? I guess 9 games in 11 nights. So it's a grind, and the regular season's a marathon, and the playoffs are a sprint. So we're sprinting right now, and in a sprint, there's no time to think about how tired you are.
At this point, do you? I know this is a tough question in a way. Do you look at the situation, like you said, some people argue you guys outplayed them in game 1. You said yourself that you thought, for most of the game, that you guys set the pace in that game. Of course, 5-2 winning game, game 2, you certainly outplayed them there. 3 games at home, do you look at your attitude now, we should win this series?
Yeah, well, we went into before game 1 started thinking that we were going to win the series. I think you're lying to yourself if you don't have that confidence. But just because what we did in game 1 and 2 doesn't make me confident that we're going to win games 3, 4, and 5. I believe in our team, but when we step on the ice, we all know in the first 5 minutes of game 3 what type of chance we have to win the series. But you only got to worry 1 game at a time, and there's a reason that it's a series, not a 4-game showdown like the Frozen Four or the Final Four, where you have one off night and it can cost you. You're allowed in the series to have nights where you're not at your best. Obviously, you don't want to have those, but for us, we're certainly in a good position with 3 home games in a series tied at 1. But unless we win Friday, our backs are against the wall, and we're in a tough spot going into Saturday. So, yeah, I think you got to take what we did well, games 1 and 2, understand them, the things that we didn't do so well, correct them, and make sure that we're executing at the clip that we're capable of executing. And I'm confident but I'm not getting ahead of ourselves saying, because what we did up there and how well we played means we're automatically going to play that well at home. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough regardless, and just like it was tough for Alaska to play against us in their building.